This is a Squiz podcast. We're your shortcut to being informed.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.
Hello and welcome to Squiz Kids Today, your fresh take on what's happening in the world around you. I'm Bryce Corbett. It's Wednesday, August 18. In Squiz Kids Today, Australia rolls up its sleeves. The world's longest number. Farewell to Eddie Betts and introducing Bus Stop the Pitbull. That's what's making news, kid style.
The lowdown.
There was a glimmer of good news on the COVID front yesterday, with reports that more Australians rolled up their sleeves for a vaccine on Monday than any other day of this dastardly pandemic. A record 279,465 jabs went into Aussie arms on Monday, the most in a single day, in a sign that while lockdowns continue throughout large parts of the country and cases of COVID continue to be worryingly high, the upside is it's spurring lots of people to get vaccinated. And that's a good thing, because the best way to beat this pandemic and for life to return to normal, medical experts agree, is for as many of us as possible to get vaccinated. As of yesterday, about half of people over the age of 16 in New South Wales have had at least one jab. It comes as extra doses of the Pfizer vaccine received this week from Poland will start to be given out to people aged 16 to 39 in New South Wales, and teachers and school staff are pushed to the front of the vaccine queue. Because the sooner that can happen, the sooner schools can reopen again, and those of you in lockdown can all get back to playing with your friends in the playground. I mean learning lots of really important things in the classroom. Meanwhile, down Canberra way, a record number of people turned out for testing as the nation's capital looked to get on top of its outbreak. So look, yes, things are tense out there, and there's a lot of not great news on the pandemic front, but we are getting there.
Spin the globe.
Each day we give the world globe a spin and find a news story from wherever it stops. And today we've landed in Switzerland, where scientists have announced that they've broken the world record for calculating the value of pi. And when I say pi, I mean the mathematical constant, not the meat pie at the footy kind of pie. Pi, spelt Pi, is used in maths that you'll get to in high school, and it allows you to figure out the area and circumference of a circle. It's also used in calculations for building construction, music theory, medical procedures, and even space flight. Pi is a really handy thing. It's also unusual because it has no exact value. It's 3.14159, and then those decimal places go on forever without end. And that's where our Swiss scientists come in. They've built a supercomputer that spent 108 days calculating pi to 62.8 trillion decimal places, smashing the previous record of 50 trillion decimal places. Oh, and in case you're wondering, the official Guinness World Record for human memorization of pi is up to 70,000 digits, which is to say someone memorized and recited pi to its 70,000th digit while blindfolded. And it took them 10 hours to recite, which seems like a perfectly sensible way to spend 10 hours.
Sport time.
When AFL star Eddie Betts runs onto the field this weekend, it will be his 350th and last game as a professional footy player, after having announced his retirement late on Monday night. The popular forward has won the Goal of the Year not once but 4 times, which is more than any other player in the AFL. And while that's impressive, he says it's what he plans to do after he's hung up his boots that's really important. Eddie says he's going to continue to work to make his sport and Australian society more generally a better place for Indigenous Australians by working to bring about an end to racism both in footy and in everyday life. Speaking to journalists yesterday, Eddie said Sydney Swans legend Adam Goodes had inspired him. He also thanked fans, said he hoped he had inspired young players and also made his family proud. Now that is a true champion.
Animal Kingdom.
How would you like a dog called Mr. Wigglebottoms? Or a rabbit called Jurgen McFlurgengurgen? Or maybe a cat called Crunch Wrap Supreme? Giving rescue pets ridiculous names is how a pet lover in the United States is helping to get them adopted. Gia Jensen runs a Twitter account dedicated to helping find forever homes for dogs and cats and guinea pigs and even geckos who are in animal shelters across the United States. And she's discovered that the crazier the name you give an animal, the more likely it is that people will adopt it. Her Twitter account has more than 340,000 followers, many of whom submit crazy names for adorable pets. I think my favourite is definitely Bus Stop, the Pit Bull Puppy. There's a link to him in today's episode notes. A quick message to all parents and teachers out there. If you have a spare 5 minutes, we'd love you to jump in and complete the Squiz Kids Survey. It's our way to take stock of what we're doing well, what we could do better, and road test a couple of ideas we have for cool new stuff we think you and your kids might like. It's also your chance to have your say. The link is in your episode notes. Oh, and did I mention that everyone that fills out the survey goes into the draw to win a $200 Booktopia voucher? Because we just give and give. Oh, and kids, I know you're champing at the bit, but this one's just for the big people. Thanks.
Time for the quiz.
This is the part of the podcast where you get to test how well you've been listening. Question number 1. It was a record day earlier this week for New South Wales residents to roll up their sleeves and receive what? That's right, the COVID vaccine. Question number 2. What's the name given to the cool mathematical constant that can help you work out the area and circumference of a circle? Yeah, it's pi. Question number 3. Name the footy player who will play his last game this weekend. You got it, it's Eddie Betts.
Shout outs.
It's August 18. Today is Vietnam Veterans Day, where we pause to remember the men and women who fought for Australia in the Vietnam War. It's also a special day for these Squiz kids celebrating a birthday today. Michaela from Fadden, Frank from Cannon Hill, Tess from Ashmont, Aidan from Roos, Ezekiel from Earlwood, Georgia from Five Dock, Liam from Newcastle, Liam from Abbotsford, Jaya from Sans Souci, Imogen from Aspley, Penny from Brisbane, and Phoenix from Kalgoorlie. And belated birthday shout-outs today go out to Ethan from Pimpama, Mark from Shell Cove, Isabella from Albany Hills, Xavier from Geelong, Jake from Marrickville, and sisters Ivy and Ava from Balgownie. Plus, because our friends in Melbourne, Canberra, and all of New South Wales are in lockdown, we're sending out home learning herograms. Sisters Maddie and Kiara want to send one to their Nana Passfield, who has been teaching maths to not only them but also to their cousins over Skype calls during the entire lockdown period. Go Nana. Also, a home learning herogram to Miss McCann and Mr. Lawler at St. Joseph's School in Brunswick West from students Annabelle and Angus. To Mr. Catley and classes 3-4W and 3L at West Wallsend Public School, and to Class 5 Joy from Wallendilly Anglican College, and their teachers Ms. Thompson, Mr. Stark, and Mr. Howling. And one last herogram to Mrs. Dixon and Class 3D at Oak Hill Drive Public School, and to the vision support teachers at the school, Mrs. Laird, Mrs. Meller, and Mrs. Robertson, who are assisting the kids with vision impairments continue their learning at home. Bravo. Plus, a couple of classroom shout-outs to those of you happily not in lockdown. Classes Middle Smith and Middle Weller from Newtown Public School in Victoria, who just came out of lockdown this week. Class 6 Green at St. Bernardine's School in Regents Park. Miss Summer and Class 5-6S at Forest Lake State School. And Grade 4 and Mr. Weston at Rockingham Beach Primary School in Western Australia. Don't forget, if you've got a birthday coming up and you want a shout out, or if you're after a classroom shout out, or if you'd like to send a home learning herogram, drop us a line at squizkids@thesquiz.com.au. Well, that's all we have time for. Thanks for listening to Squiz Kids today. We'll be back again tomorrow. In the meantime, get out there and have a most excellent day. Over and out. Squiz Kids is proudly supported by the Judith Neilson Institute for Journalism and Ideas.
Squiz Kids!
It's your daily news fix. Fun, free, fresh.